Hey guys, a better way of organizing your playbooks is to use roles. Roles are a way of automatically loading certain variable files, tasks, and handlers based on a known file structure. Grouping content by roles also allows easy sharing of roles with the other users. So for example, if we were to install our LAMP stack using roles, we will create one role for Apache, one role for MySQL Server, and one role for PHP. This allows us to reuse these roles, so in case where we only want to install Apache on a set of servers, we can only call Apache, and in the case where we want to install all three, we can call all three roles. Now let's head over to our Ansible controller system. Now the first thing we need to do is, I want you guys to check if you've got tree command installed. Tree allows you to see the directories and its subdirectories in a tree-like structure. So if I was to show you my documents, this is the view that tree command will give you. To install tree is very easy. You just need to type in sudo apt install tree and hit enter, and when it prompts, you need to type in your password. Now since I had tree already installed, it didn't upgrade. Now with tree installed, we can now go ahead and start creating our roles. Roles are created using the Ansible Galaxy command. So if I type in Ansible Galaxy, and if I do a -H to open up the help menu for Ansible Galaxy, you can first see the usage of Ansible Galaxy. So we need to type in Ansible Galaxy and then one of these options. So delete, import, info, initialize, install, list, login, remove, search, setup. Then help, which is if you need help, and then some options. And the options are -C to ignore certificates, -S to set up API server destination, and -V for verbose, and -- version. We will use init to initialize our role. So let's clear this. First we need to make sure we're in the Ansible directory. Now inside Ansible directory, we've got all our playbooks. What I would do is I would create a new directory called roles, and then inside roles I will create our first role. So I will type in Ansible Galaxy init and then Apache, because we will install Apache using these roles. Now if I do an ls inside roles, you can see I've got a directory called Apache. Let's do a tree on that directory. Now as you can see, it has created a directory structure with some subdirectories and some files within those subdirectories. Now going back to the slide, first we have the defaults subdirectory, which holds all the default variables for this particular role. Then you have the files subdirectory, which will contain the files which can be deployed via this role. For example, the index.html file for an Apache server. Handlers will contain handlers which may be used by this role or even anywhere outside this role as well. Meta contains some meta information for this role, for example, author name, platforms which are supported, etc. Tasks contain the main list of tasks to be executed by this role. Then we have templates, which will contain templates in Jinja 2 format which can be deployed through this role. And lastly, we have the vars subdirectory, which contains other variables for this role. The variables defined here takes precedence over the variables that you define in the defaults folder. So whenever you are setting up a role, just be careful where you're defining your variables. If you got a variable that has the same name and it's present in defaults and vars, the one in vars will take precedence. Now going back to the Ansible controller, So in this lecture, I'm going to show you how to create a role for Apache server. Now, the tasks for installation of Apache server can be broken down into 3 steps. The first step is to install the Apache server. The second step is to configure the Apache server. Now for this step, we will send a custom apache2.config file over to the Apache server. We will also copy an index.html file over to the remote machine as well as part of this step. Third, we will need to start the Apache server. Now let's get started. So first we need to go into the tasks subdirectory, because going back to the slide, the tasks directory contains the main list of tasks to be executed by this role. So in the tasks subdirectory, we will use Visual Studio Code rather than terminal to do this. So I'll just minimize my terminal to this much, and then I will hit refresh here to refresh my workspace. Now you can see I've got roles and I've got Apache inside roles. Now inside tasks, I've got a main.yaml. Now because we had broken down the installation steps into 3 distinct steps, we're going to create 3 files. The first file is install.yaml, or rather we will use YML. It doesn't really matter in Linux, but since in roles we've got the extension YML, just for keeping everything same, I'm going to name the extension YML while using roles. The next file I'm going to create is configure.yml, and the last file is services.yml. Now under install.yml, we will write the tasks needed to install Apache server. So let's start with 3 dashes and then the name of this task, install Apache server. Now here I'm going to call apt module, and then name of the service or the package we need to install. The package will be called Apache 2, and the state of that package would be latest, and that's it for this one. Now under configure.yaml, I'm going to write 2 tasks. One would be to configure the web server, which means we will be sending over a custom Apache config file onto the web server, and second we will deploy our index.html. So 3 dashes minus name, deploy custom apache2.conf file, and we will use the copy module, and we will type in src equals the name of our custom Apache file. I have actually attached this file with this lecture, and I've downloaded this file on my system as well. In my downloads folder, looks like I had to download it again. So here's the file in my downloads folder. I can just copy this file into my Ansible folder, and then roles, then Apache, and inside the files folder, and I will also need to copy the index.html file, and now once this is done, let's head back to our Visual Studio Code and let's do a refresh. Now you can see that our file apache2.conf is there, and I put a line at the top saying file was customized by me for demonstration purposes, and this is our index.new.html, and rather than using tasks I will just say using roles. And let's save everything. So going back to configure.yaml, so our source is apache2.conf, which should be present inside the files subdirectory under our role Apache. So we've established that the file is there. Now we need to specify a destination for this file as well. Now this file needs to go in /etc/apache2/apache2.conf. So source is apache2.conf inside my file subdirectory, and the destination is /etc/apache2 on the remote machine. And once this is done, I'm going to notify restart Apache. Now let's add the next task, and we'll call it deploy index.html, and here I'm also going to use the copy module, and source this time would be /var/www/html/index dot, oh my bad, the source would be our new index file, which is inside the files subdirectory. So this file right here, and the destination would be the destination path on the remote machine. So var www/html/index.html, and let's just save it. Let's put a space here and make sure that name and copy are at the same level, and the name here is at the same level as the name there, so we don't end up with a syntax error. Okay, now let's save it again. Now the next one is the services.yaml. Now in this file we are going to add a task to start the services. So -name starting Apache service. Let's add a few empty lines, and here we're going to use service, and name for that service is Apache2. State is started, and let's save this one. Now in configure.yaml we had a notify statement to restart Apache. So inside handlers, in the main.yaml we have to specify a handler to handle this. So in the handlers main.yaml, we will go in and we will type in name space restart Apache and service name is equal to Apache 2, state is restarted, 3 dots to finish this. Now let's do a save all. Now in the end we can also go into meta and then main.yaml, and here we can type in our own details. So I'm going to say I am the author. Description, I will say instructor. And the company name is optional, but I could say Lab IT. Now here I could specify things like main Ansible version, the platforms that are supported, the tags for this role, and some dependencies. So let's do a save all. So far we've configured a task to install Apache. We've set up a task to configure the new Apache server, and we've got 2 tasks in the configure.yaml file, one to deploy the custom apache2.conf file and the other to deploy the index.html file. Both these files are present inside the files subdirectory. Then we have a task to start the Apache services under services.yml. Now in the task section, let's go into the main.yaml, because obviously we will need to call these tasks as well. And here we will use include statement. So space include install.yml include configure.yml include services.yml. And that should be it. So let's do a save all. And let's try and run this role. Now to run this role, what we need to do is we need to just run the playbook to run this role. However, we haven't actually created that playbook yet. So we've got a role, we've got some tasks and a main.yml inside that role and some handlers and some other tasks, but we do not have any playbook yet which calls this particular role. So to do that, we need to go at the Ansible level and create that playbook that calls the role. Now we are going to call this install Apache using roles.yaml. Now in this playbook we will specify first the set of hosts that we are going to run this playbook on. Then we will specify the tasks. So actually we do not need to specify tasks, we need to specify the role. So and under roles we need to specify /roles/Apache. Now what does this double dot mean is go 2 levels up. So if I show you the tree structure from Ansible, and this is important for you to understand. So we've got our Ansible here. Ansible is here, and we have our playbook install Apache using roles here. So 2 dots will take it to Ansible, and then in roles, and then it will look for a role called Apache. Now we can just close this like this, and we might also add become yes. Now let's save everything. And let's run this. So inside Ansible, now we can type in Ansible playbook install starts with a capital I, so we'll use that. Apache using roles.yaml, and let's hit enter. Now so far so good. It has started the execution of this playbook, which means we do not have any syntax errors. Now here with this task, it has actually gone to find the role called Apache, found it, and installed the Apache server. Then it has gone in and deployed the custom Apache 2 config file from our config.yaml, and then it has deployed the new index file. Then it has started the Apache service, and then because we called for a restart if we change the apache2.config file, it has used the handler to restart the Apache service as well. And now we've got an OK is equal to 6 and changed is equal to 3. So if I was to go back to the dev machine now, and if I just hit refresh, now you can see that the new index.html was deployed. So this is how you can use roles. I would just do a quick recap because this was a big lecture. Now let me clear this first, and let me do a tree. Let me first cd and do a tree on Ansible. So what we did in this lecture was we first created a role called Apache inside a directory called roles. Normally in production environments you will see a directory called roles, and all the roles would be defined under this directory. So we had our roles called Apache. Then under the tasks subdirectory of that role, we had a file called main.yml that called 3 files: install, configure, and services. So main.yml calls install, configure, and services. Install was used to install Apache. Configure was used to deploy apache2.conf and index.html file onto the remote machine, and then services was used to start the Apache services on the remote machine. Then we had a notification using a notify method inside the configure.yml file to restart Apache, and we inside our handlers we added tasks to handle that notify, and the task was to restart Apache using the service module. Then we also edited the main file inside meta subdirectory to add some metadata to this role, for example the author name, company name, etc. After we'd done all this, we went one step up and we created a playbook that calls this role. Now inside this playbook, which was inside the Ansible directory, we gave it a set of hosts to run the playbook against. We gave it root privileges, and then we called a role and we said roles and called the role Apache. The first two dots and then a slash will tell the system to go to the level of Ansible, and from there look for a directory named roles, and there inside the directory named roles go and look for Apache. So go to the level of Ansible, inside Ansible look for roles, and then inside roles look for Apache. With this we have come to the end of this long lecture. I hope you've understood roles. If not, just ask any questions and I will be happy to answer your questions. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. I will see you in the next one. Bye.